How are you guys? We are here in Club Safari in Mindanao. Mindanao. I guess if you're an American, European, Australian, or wherever from some kind of Western country, then your government has told you never ever set your little dirty feet in Mindanao. Why the fuck not? I mean, look at Mindanao. It's gorgeous, right? It's beautiful. It's green. It's clean. It's serene. Friendliest people in the world outside of Africa, of course. I'm from Africa, remember? Frankly Frank is my name, and I'm a straight shooter. We just say the things as they are, no BS, okay? So then why are all these goddamn dumb governments telling you not to come to Mindanao, okay? So I'm going to tell you today what is really going down. And by the way, I have a lot of videos, or I'm making videos about foreigners living here in Mindanao, right around here in the jungles. Americans, Australians, Germans, you know, why they love living in Mindanao. You can just look for my other videos on my channel, okay, about that. So anyway, let's begin with one word. Abu Sayyaf. Oh, actually it's two words, right? Abu Sayyaf. Okay, funny. So Abu Sayyaf, what is Abu Sayyaf and who are the Abu Sayyaf? Abu Sayyaf started, this is like the big terrorist threat here in Philippines, the Abu Sayyaf, all 400 of them, you know, I mean, 400 people that terrorizing a whole country that's the size of Philippines with 7,000 islands. Ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. Any gang, the smallest gang in Hong Kong is much bigger than the Abu Sayyaf. The smallest gang in the US is much bigger than the Abu Sayyaf. It's just ridiculous, okay? So what the hell is the Abu Sayyaf, and who are the Abu Sayyaf? Now, Abu Sayyaf means father of the sword. It's Arabic, right? And obviously there goes your first clue. The Abu Sayyaf started off like all other terrorist groups these days in Afghanistan in the 80s, sponsored by the USA through weapons and through money, like Al-Qaeda or whatever, you know, Bin Laden and his boys. They went to Afghanistan to fight the Soviets, sponsored by the Americans, right? And Abu Sayyaf is no different. The founder of Abu Sayyaf was a guy called Jang Jalan or something. He's a Filipino from the southern islands, and he went to Afghanistan to fight the Soviets, and he met Bin Laden, and Bin Laden gave him about a few $1 million and told him, dude, you go back to your impoverished islands, which is true. The Muslim area of the Philippines is very poor compared to the rest of the Philippines, because of discrimination over the last 100 years since the Americans ruled the Philippines, right? There've been a lot of discrimination against the Muslims, so they are very poorly developed, they're very poor, so there's a lot of anger, right, among the Muslims. They had their land stolen, they had their people murdered, massacred, raped, robbed by the Americans, and then later by their stooges in the Filipino governments. So they have a lot of very legitimate grievances. So Jang Jayan came back to the Philippines. He started the Abu Sayyaf. I think it was in 1991. The first attack was in a place called Ipil, small town somewhere in. Okay, so where is the Abu Sayyaf? Let's look at the map here. This is Mindanao. Now Mindanao looks like a flying elephant. There is the long trunk. You see, it looks like an elephant with wings. Here are the wings. You see. Here are some little funny-looking legs. Then you have a little funny mouth, and then you have the long trunk. But so the Abu Sayyaf are not on the main. We call this is Mindanao, mainland Mindanao. Just for clarity's sake, I'm here in this place called Hinatuan. I'm very near here. This is Enchanted River. We are very near Enchanted River, by the way, Club Safari, and a very lovely area. So we have never ever heard or seen any Abu Sayyaf here in this. Well, definitely not in this area of Mindanao, and actually 99.99999% of Mindanao is totally and utterly Abu Sayyaf free. There is not one single Abu Sayyaf on this whole huge island, 30,000 square kilometers or something like that. So where are the Abu Sayyaf hiding? Now here is Malaysia, Sabah in Malaysia, and just south of that is Indonesia. Now if you look at the islands here, you see these islands, Tawi-Tawi, Pasilan, and what is the other one? Anyway, there's some islands here. These islands here, these are much more closely affiliated, and they have very close affinity with the Muslims in Malaysia and the Muslims in Indonesia. So the Abu Sayyaf is right here. It's only 1 hour. It's a one single hour from Holo here in the middle. It's 1 hour to Malaysia by boat. So it's very, very easy for them. And that is why 90%, 90 to 95% of all Abu Sayyaf attacks happens right here in Sabah, Indonesia, and also off the waters here in Malaysia and off the waters in Indonesia. 95%. So they are very limited in their activities here. There has been a couple of attacks. I think like I'm going to show you just now a handful in Zamboanga and then 1 or 2 in Davao. That's it. And there has been a huge attack, a couple of attacks in Manila, and then most recently they invaded Bohol. Now if you look at the map, you can see the reality of the map. The reality is that the Abu Sayyaf terrorists or criminals, you can call them, they're actually criminals, not so much terrorists. They use boats, speed boats. So they can easily reach to, most easily they can get to Malaysia, of course, Sabah, and then Indonesia. Then they can also get to Palawan, because there are little islands here. They can go from island to island to island, and then boom, they can hit. They have hit Palawan a few times. They have hit. They came up all the way to Bohol. But here where I am there, I don't think we will ever. I'm willing to bet everything, my club safari, that we will never ever see one single Abu Sayyaf here in this area. Never ever. I've only met one Muslim ever in this area. He was my teacher in knife defense. Okay, so this is the reality of the map. I hope you guys, before you talk nonsense about the Philippines, look at the map, okay? I was drawing up maps in the South African Army. I was in military intelligence back in the days, 1980s. I was up in Angola in a war zone. One of my jobs was to draw up huge maps for the commandant. And so the first thing I always look at is the goddamn map, because immediately, geographically, you can see very clearly that it is much safer for you being in Mindanao, especially on the east coast here, than it's almost anywhere else. These Abu Sayyaf or terrorists can easily get to Dumaguete, they can easily get to Palawan, they can very easily get to Bohol, where they are right now. They can even easily get to Cebu, but they cannot easily get to this side of Mindanao. It is physically impossible for them. This area is very mountainous. There are hundreds of army roadblocks. If they want to sail around, it will take them weeks and weeks. So it's impossible. This area here, where we are right now, is the safest area in all of Asia. Never mind all of the Philippines, in all of Asia. If you're a foreigner, this area right here is the safest in all of Asia. I'm telling you right now, and one of the safest in the whole world for a foreigner. Okay, let's quickly look at the history of the Abu Sayyaf. Okay, how it started, how it continued. The year 2000, please zoom in here, the year 2000, the first major, this will give you a very good idea of how the Abu Sayyaf operate. It's basically a crime syndicate, right? It started off as a so-called Muslim liberation organization, but in reality, people who have interviewed them realize that they are very poorly educated. They don't know nothing about the Quran. They don't know anything about the moral teachings of the Quran. For example, they take drugs. Their shabu is big among the Abu Sayyaf. They rape women that they captured. They kidnap people for ransom. All of these things are totally illegal in the Quran, right? But that's what they do. So in reality they are not true Muslims. So in Malaysia in the year 2000, I think it was a place called Sibadan. Now, what is the Abu Sayyafs kidnapped 21 foreigners, 11 Malaysians and 10 foreign tourists, divers on the island, Sibadan, in Malaysia, Sabah. And they took them to Holo Island. But now what is really funny is that there was a dispute between two Chinese-Malaysian businessmen. One of them was a gangster. He was one of the 14K gang of Hong Kong, which is like the second biggest gang in Hong Kong. 14K. They are a mainland gang, and they are very big in drug dealing. So this gangster had a dispute with a Malaysian businessman who was the owner of this resort, probably about some drug money, and he got they cut a deal with the Abu Sayyaf, the 14K of Hong Kong. And they got the Abu Sayyaf to work with them, and right from the start they kidnapped these people, and then it became a ransom situation, right? And General Muammar Gaddafi of Libya stepped in. He paid $25 million, around about 400 million pesos, and all these people were released. Now, this is the other funny thing about the Abu Sayyaf. They have kidnapped like 20 foreign journalists, but all 20 has been released, okay, once they've paid their ransom. And basically anybody who was willing to pay ransom will be released. There has been a few, very few hostages has been executed, but in reality it's all about money, 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 money. If you're willing to pay, the Abu Sayyaf are going to let you go, because they will not take the money and then kill you, because that is bad for business. Because then after that, if they kill the hostage, after money is paid, nobody else is going to pay the money, right? And it's all about money. So that's how they sponsor themselves. How many minutes do we have? 5? 11 minutes. Okay, great. We still have we have about a few minutes. I'm going to show you. So after this big kidnapping in Malaysia, there has been quite a few other attacks on Malaysia in the year 2000 now. We're in the year 2000 here. There are several journalists, a German journalist from, I think, Der Spiegel or whatever, came to investigate this case of the Sibadang kidnapping. A French TV crew, 3 of them were kidnapped because they came to the Abu Sayyaf headquarters to interview the so-called hostages. They were kidnapped. USA Muslim Skilling, he was kidnapped because he came there. Okay, so in the end, all of these people were released. Not a single one was killed out of the 21 plus people. In the year 2001, Skilling, the American, was rescued by the Filipino army. The Abu Sayyaf raided Palawan. 18 people were kidnapped, including a USA couple, including the Manila Times owner, in 2001 in Palawan. Then in 2002, one U.S. soldier was killed in a bombing in Zamboanga. He was one of only 2 Americans, according to my research, that has been killed in this war. Only 1 out of 2 in 16 years. So how safe is Mindanao? Only 2 American soldiers killed in 16 years. Unbelievable. 2003, there was a bombing at Davao Airport. 2004, bombing and sinking of the super ferry. This is the biggest single terrorist attack in the Filipino history. 116 people died in the super ferry bombing in Manila. 2005, the Valentine's Day bombings in Makati, in Davao, and in Jensan. Then also some Abu Sayyaf leaders tried to escape from a prison, I think in Manila. 22 of them were killed. 2006, Saddam Hussein funded some money to the Al-Qaeda to help Abu Sayyaf. 2007, lots of fighting on the islands. You know, every year there is fighting on the islands. These islands here, remember. Then let's go to 2008. What happened in 2008? A Catholic missionary was kidnapped in Tawi-Tawi. Tawi-Tawi is that island very near Malaysia. There was a failed assassination attempt on President Arroyo. ABS, CBN reporters were kidnapped and then released. 2009, 3 Red Cross workers were kidnapped and then released. 1 American soldier was killed in Holo. Irish priest was kidnapped and then released. Chinese were kidnapped in Basilan Island. Police, 2010, police officer killed in Zamboanga. I think it was a Filipino. 2011, 5 businessmen killed in Basilan. And Australian Rothwell was kidnapped in Zamboanga. He was released for cash. 2012, Dutch and a Swiss guy, they are bird watchers in Tawi-Tawi. That's near Malaysia. The island near Malaysia, remember? They were kidnapped and the Swiss guy was rescued. The Dutch guy, I'm not sure what happened to him. Maybe he's still a captive. Maybe Holland doesn't pay ransom. 2013, a Malaysian resort was attacked. One Taiwanese was killed. One Taiwanese was taken hostage. He was later rescued by the Filipino army. 2014, Malaysian resort attacked again. 1 Chinese was kidnapped and later rescued. A German and his girlfriend was kidnapped from a yacht in Palawan. They were released after paying ransom. A Malaysian fish farm was attacked, 1 Chinese kidnapped and then released. 2015, 2 people kidnapped in a resort in Sandakan, Malaysia. Sandakan, you can sail from Zamboanga to Sandakan. A Canadian and two Canadians and 1 Norwegian was kidnapped on Samal Island. This was big news. This was one of the very, very few attacks in Mindanao itself, especially near to the south there. The Malaysian was released for ransom. 2016, last year, 10 Indonesian sailors were kidnapped, released. 4 Malaysian sailors kidnapped, released. 2 Indonesian boats attacked. 4 Indonesians kidnapped, released. 7 Indonesian sailors in Sulu kidnapped. 3 Indonesian fishermen kidnapped and then released. 5 Malaysian sailors kidnapped. 1 Indonesian kidnapped. A German was kidnapped from his yacht in Sabah, in Malaysia. A Vietnamese boat was attacked. 6 Vietnamese were kidnapped. 2 Indonesians kidnapped in Sabah. That was 2016, and then this year, recently, just a few weeks ago, I was on my way to Bohol, and then the Abu Sayyaf invaded Bohol Island. I was on my way to Panglao there. So what I found was very interesting, that the majority of attacks are the vast majority, I mean like 90% or 95% are in Malaysia, and then the others are all around the island, the waters there around these little islands. So. And most of the people who has been kidnapped were actually reporters going to the islands. Up to 20 reporters have been kidnapped. They were all released after their agencies paid the fees. Palawan has suffered a few attacks. Zamboanga suffered like 2 or 3 attacks. So Zamboanga is very, very safe. It's really amazing. I was very surprised. I thought the Zamboanga is not very safe, but it's seemingly quite safe. Davao had a couple of attacks, like we said, the one on the island near Davao. That was the main one. Manila had a few attacks, the biggest bombing, the biggest terrorist attack on the super ferry. Jensen had 1 attack. Bohol, so far, I saw 1 attack. So the danger areas are the areas near to these islands, and like very accessible by boat, okay? What else was interesting? And 99% of hostages are released, unless your government, like the Canadians, I guess, the Americans and so on, they refuse to pay the ransom, then you may get into trouble. So make sure you have some money ready, or before you go there to the Muslim area there near Indonesia. You're very welcome here in Mindanao, where it is very, very safe. I don't have I don't have doors, I don't have windows in my restaurant. All the foreigners living up and down here, most of them live like me. So next time when people talk nonsense about Mindanao and they've never seen the map of Mindanao and they just talk shit, just stop them, and just stop them and say, look, don't talk shit. Go and look at the map. Go and look at the history of the so-called war on terror. It's a criminal group, small criminal group. They are not Muslims, they don't understand the Quran, they have no clue what they're doing, they're just kidnapping people at random, and they are there for the money, okay? And I'm telling you again, Mindanao is the safest part of the Philippines, especially here in this area, in Surigao del Sur. So you're very welcome down here. Come here, you're going to have the best life you can ever imagine here in the Philippines. Any questions, just ask me here on my little vlog. And my channel is Francois Williams. I have many videos uploaded, so please like, subscribe, and watch. Okay, guys? Any questions? A little bit about my background. I was in the South African Army. I was in a war zone in Angola. We were fighting the Russians, the Cubans, and the Eastern Germans, and all those dudes. I was military intelligence. I'm the creator of Black Shield Elite Training, which is an urban survival course, which teaches you all about survival, any kind of dangerous situation. Okay guys, so I'm out of here. Enjoy the video. I hope you have learned something now. And switch on, man. And yeah, boy. Cheers.